I'm going to try some Lichess puzzles. My puzzle rating is now 2479, so it would be nice if I can get it to 2500. Let's see what we can do. Wow, I'm really disoriented. What's my king doing on d8? That's a1. Yeah, my pawns are going up the board. Okay, I know the direction of the pawns now. Okay, so what's going on? So white's down a pawn. White rook is under attack. Bishop is under attack, but it's guarded. King's vulnerable. My king is in check. The rook has these squares covered, so I can't take the queen. I can't block the check. So there are two legal moves. King takes d7 looks suicidal, just opening up the position. Check. Right, even better, king takes d7, rook to c7 check, king is forced back, and then the queen mates on b8. So I know I can't take d7. So my move is forced. So I really don't need to see to the end of the puzzle. I can make my forced move first. Let's do it. Okay, now the puzzle begins after rook to c8. All right, so my queen is under attack, but I can take his rook. His rook is undefended. Or I can move my queen to f7 with check, maybe attack the king, get my king into the position. That looks more forcing. Let's look at that first. Queen f7 check. King h8 is forced. Can I get my king in? And maybe, but there's a check here with the queen. And then I can take the pawn. And there's another check. And I can take the other pawn. And then there's a check with the queen on f8. It's looking really messy. Let's try something else. Queen to f7 check, king to h8. What about queen to f6 check? Let's say the king returns back to h7, and I walk my king over this way. Then black has no safe checks. There's rook to f8 check there, but then king takes rook. And the bishop can't take the rook in return because there'd be a mate on g7. So maybe that's the way to go so I don't get into a sequence of checks. So again, queen f7 check, king h8, queen f6 check. Now there are two moves there. Let's look at the king to h7 first, and then king to f7 threatens a mate on g7. Maybe rook g8 to block the mate. What can I do after that? Nothing. Maybe that's not it. Maybe black defends that. It's looking hard to proceed after queen to f7 check. So let's look at the other move. Queen takes rook. Black has no checks, so I think he's forced to restore the material. Take my rook. Then this knight gets to e4 with the threat of landing on f6. That looks devastating. Yeah, the queen cannot defend. Queen can't get in there anywhere. There's no stopping the knight landing on f6, and then the queen can come back along the 8th rank. Mate threat on g8. Maybe the king can try to escape, but it's useless. I think that's the way to go. If I take the rook, he has to take the rook back, and then knight to e4 threatens knight to f6 with no response. So let's try that. Takes, oh, it just ended. Okay, 3 points, 2107. Let's look at the engine to see if our line was correct. So plus 9.3, it just wants to play queen to b7. Okay, and give up the material. If queen to b7, then queen takes queen, bishop takes queen, and I'm up a rook. So I was wondering, what if this happens? Then it says there's a mate in 4 with king to f7. There's a mate in 5, though, with knight to e4. That's what I was thinking. There's just no stopping it. Black wants to give up the queen. Okay, let's go to the next puzzle. Okay, so I'm black. Materials equal. This pawn is passed. This pawn is passed. Rook is behind the advanced passed pawn. That king is precarious. I've got it covered on the 7th rank. These squares are covered by my knight. So this is the only escape square currently for the king. So forcing move, f5 check. King takes f5 is forced. But then what's the follow-up? Anything. It's a couple knight checks, a couple rook checks. Maybe nothing. So maybe not f5. So knight e7 check. If the rook steps up to the 7th rank, then there's a discovered check attacking the rook. Let's see. Check. King comes here. Check. King can approach. Well, let's not analyze that because the king doesn't have to go to the 7th rank. It can go here or here. Let's see if it goes here. Check. King approaches. Nothing looks forcing. This looks like the most forcing, promising move. Forcing king to f5. Maybe bring the rook down here, cut it off this way. White doesn't have any checks. I'd say he pushes his pawn and maybe his rook defends. Okay, then maybe knight e7 check. Forces the king here. Not seeing anything. I don't want to check him and let him go up. Maybe a quiet move. Maybe king e5, threatening mate. Okay, so how does white stop that mate threat? He checks. or he pushes this pawn to defend. Okay, well this is also a mate threat. G5 threatens mate. So G5, H takes G5, King takes G5. My king is a little more solid there. Threatening two different mates, this one and this one. Yeah, you can't stop both of those. So this threatens mate, and if H takes G5, King takes G5. His king can't move, he can't put me in check. He can push this pawn actually and guard that rank with his rook. Then what? Then maybe push the pawn to f4 check, forcing rook taking on f4, and then knight de2 forks, and we win the rook. Yeah, that looks good. We still have that passed pawn contained by our rook. And we have a quick knight as well. We don't even win the exchange, we win the whole rook in that line. So is there any other way to stop the mate? Well, let's see. Is there anything besides H takes G5? There's this move right away. But again, check. It's even worse for white. You can take with the pawn with check. Yeah, that must be it. Let's play it. Okay, let's go up. It's going to push that pawn. So I was thinking check, rook takes, knight fork. Let's just make sure. So after that knight fork, maybe a king comes here. We take the rook. And if this pawn moves forward, we just take it. Yeah, if this pawn moves forward, can we stop the pawn duo? Well, we have a knight on f4. Should be at least able to sacrifice our knight. I think that looks pretty easy. All right, let's go for it. Let's fork. Let's take. All right, a 2403 rated puzzle, 10 points, 2492, just 8 points away from 2500. Maybe one more puzzle if we get a good one. Let's see. All right, material is equal. Looks like I'm under attack on the H file. H7 is guarded 3 times. But I don't want to guard it with my queen, so he's threatening rook takes, queen takes, rook takes, king takes. He's threatening to give up the 2 rooks for the queen and pawn. And I don't know if that's winning for white, but I doubt I want that to happen in a puzzle. There's this move, threatens a back rank mate. This is a nice move if I weren't in danger over here, because not only does it threaten the back rank mate, but also pushing to D3 is a threat. Maybe. Forcing move, queen takes rook. Rook takes queen. Not seeing it. I'd really like to get this one. Let's analyze this move. E takes d4. Can't step away. There's still rook to h8 check. Have to give up the queen. All right, after both rooks take on h7, I can take back with the king or the rook. If I take back with the rook, so then he has to stop the mate. If he gains lift, for example, there's d3 pushing the bishop to the back rank, and then rook to e1 forking the king and the bishop. Picking up the bishop, 2 rooks and a bishop are better than a queen. Assuming I don't lose anything. I have to watch out for checks with the queen. So let's look at that again. So my candidate move is e takes d4, rook takes h7 check, queen takes h7, rook takes h7 check. Maybe king takes h7. It's better to get out of checks. The only check the queen would then have is on h4, and then the king can step over to g7, and white's run out of checks. And if white's out of checks, he has to protect against the back rank threat. And if he pushes a pawn, maybe you can push this pawn. Yeah, that's a different story. Might not get that fork on the bishop and king. Okay. What other candidate move is there? I don't like just protecting h7 with a rook. Doesn't seem good. All right, well, in the interest of time, I see no other candidate moves. We're going to play it. Okay. So I don't know, are these two moves equivalent? King to g8 and queen takes h7? So king to g8. No. Rook takes queen, king takes rook. I don't even get the other rook. So I have no choice here. Now I have a choice, take with the king or the rook. So if I take with the rook, then there's this check here. And maybe king over. No, there's this pawn. So if I take with the rook, there's this check. Rook comes back to block on g7. And there's this check. King comes over. Is that any different than taking with the king? Taking with the king allows this check only. And the king comes to g7. There's no more checks. Is the queen better placed on h4? I don't see why. It doesn't have time to take that pawn. Okay, I'm going to take with the king. Well, that was the end of it. Let me see what the engine says from here on out. So it gives me a negative 2.6 edge. It suggests white gets looped. Black pushes to d3. And then it says queen h4 check. Yeah, king can go here or here. Either way stops the checks. And then the bishop goes to the back rank here or here. And then we get the fork. So that's what I was thinking, but it looked a lot messier than that. There are more options to consider, like why h3, why not here? And then it suggests d3. Again, queen h4 can be inserted, king g8. Yeah, it's still the same fork. The bishop has to move now. Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. It's actually suggesting rook to d7. That is weird. What's the deal with rook to d7? Oh, the queen's got that square covered, yeah. All right, maybe I should just take my points. Okay, I'm going to end it here. This is getting a little long. Maybe I'll go for 2,500 next time. Thanks for watching.